His phone kept buzzing, short, steady vibrations across the table, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. He'd gone to shower, left it unlocked. We trusted each other enough for that. At least, I thought we did. At first, I ignored it. Notifications weren't new, he lived online. But when the same icon kept flashing, the small red Reddit symbol, curiosity felt almost harmless. Just one glance, I told myself. The screen was open to a post, a username I'd never seen before, but the story felt too familiar. A woman who gaslights, who plays the victim, who turns every argument into tears. Her apartment layout, her job, her words. Mine. I scrolled, breath shallow, as strangers dissected every part of my life, my habits, my silence, my existence. Thousands of comments, some defending me, most laughing. Then I saw his reply. Yeah, she's exactly like that. The room went quiet in a way sound can't explain. The hum of the fridge, the running shower, even my heartbeat, all faded. Only the blue light remained, reflecting in the glass like something alive. He walked back in, towel over his shoulder, and smiled. Everything okay? I nodded. Because what do you say when the whole world already heard your side from someone who swore he loved you? And just like that, everything I thought was private became entertainment. The shower stopped, the pipes groaned, then silence. I sat there, still holding his phone like it might explain itself if I stared long enough. The screen dimmed, then went black. My reflection looked back at me, pale, small, foreign. He walked past me humming, still damp, still himself. He kissed the top of my head, careless, routine. I didn't move. The air smelled like soap and burnt coffee. A wet towel hit the floor somewhere behind me. The fridge clicked, releasing another low hum. Everything sounded distant, like the world had slipped one layer away. My hands were trembling, but not from shock. It felt more like withdrawal. From trust, maybe. From safety. The comment section replayed in my mind in flashes. She sounds exhausting. Run while you can. Classic manipulator. Little verdicts from strangers who'd never seen my face, but somehow believed they knew my soul. My eyes drifted to the phone again, waiting for the next vibration. It came, a small buzz, a reminder that people were still reading, still laughing. He stepped into the kitchen, opening the fridge. Want something to eat? He asked. His voice sounded far away, like it was coming through a wall of water. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because if I spoke, I'd have to choose between pretending nothing happened and admitting that everything had. He shrugged, took a drink, and left the room. I stayed. Still, listening to the quiet between vibrations. The world didn't end. It just stopped feeling like mine. For days, I kept quiet. Silence was easier than asking questions that already had answers. He never mentioned the post, not once, as if pretending it didn't exist might make it less real. But I watched him differently after that. The way he smiled when his phone lit up. The way he angled the screen away, not to hide something new, but to hide something old. He had always been good with words, too good. When we met, that's what drew me in, the way he could turn a simple story into something people wanted to listen to. He used to write about music, about art, about places he wanted to visit. Then, slowly, his world shrank until the only thing left to write about was us. At first, it was harmless, little anecdotes, funny girlfriend moments, things I laughed about because he made them sound charming. Then the tone changed, his followers grew, and the jokes turned sharp. The comments got louder. He started to treat our arguments like material. I remembered a night when we fought about dishes, nothing serious. He watched me cry, then said softly, "People would love this one." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Back then, I told myself it was just his outlet, his way of processing. I didn't see that I'd become his content. I scrolled through his profile again, long after he fell asleep beside me. Every story, every detail carefully framed so he stayed the wounded one. He'd learned exactly how to phrase pain so people sided with him, how to turn sympathy into validation, and validation into addiction. That's when I understood. It was never about money. It was about control, about shaping the narrative before I ever had a chance to speak. He didn't need to shout or lie or cheat. He just needed to tell the story first. I replayed every moment we'd ever had, through his lens, not mine. Our laughter looked rehearsed. My apologies sounded scripted. Even my silence fit his rhythm. He'd written me into a role I never auditioned for, and I had performed it perfectly. That realization didn't hurt. It emptied me instead. Like the truth had burned through everything else and left only understanding behind. There's a kind of freedom in that, the quiet knowledge that the person you loved never loved you, only the version that made him look better. That was the moment I understood. It was never about truth. It was about attention. The decision came quietly, not in anger, not in some dramatic argument, just a calm, steady knowing that the story was already over, even if he hadn't realized it yet. I woke early that morning before sunrise. The apartment was still, filled with that soft blue light that makes everything look honest. His laptop sat open on the counter, half a coffee ring marking the space beside it. For a moment, I just stood there, watching the cursor blink in the empty text field of a new post. He'd titled it, Update. I didn't need to read more. I closed the screen gently, as if not to wake a sleeping thing. Then I started packing. No noise, no rush, just small, deliberate movements. Folding clothes, unplugging chargers, wrapping a mug I'd once called ours. Every sound echoed. The zipper of my suitcase, the low creak of the closet door, the faint rhythm of my own breathing. I left the framed photos face down on the shelf, not out of spite, just mercy. He stirred once, half asleep. "Where are you going?" "Out," I said. It was the truth, just incomplete. By the time the sun rose, I was already in the car. The city looked different from the driver's seat. Lighter, as if the streets had been waiting for me to finally stop explaining myself. I didn't cry, I didn't look back. I just drove until the notifications stopped showing up on my lock screen. That's the thing about leaving. It's rarely a single step. It's thousands of tiny withdrawals, from arguments, from expectations, from the idea that love can't coexist with humiliation. He'd written the first draft of our story. This was mine. Silent, unpublished, real. I didn't leave out of anger. I left because staying meant disappearing. Years passed quietly. Not the kind of quiet that follows pain, the kind that builds peace. I moved cities, changed jobs, learned what it meant to have a life that didn't need to be explained to anyone. There were no posts about me anymore, no comments dissecting my tone, my words, my heart. Just the sound of my own decisions, and the way mornings felt lighter when no one else's opinion mattered. Sometimes I'd still scroll through Reddit. Muscle memory, nothing more. Different username now, different life. His account was still there. I checked once. He'd kept posting for a while after I left. Updates, theories. Until one day, the posts stopped. The comments slowed. And then, nothing. People move on faster than they think, especially when the only thing keeping them relevant is someone else's pain. Last year, I published an essay. Nothing dramatic, just thoughts about online privacy and the ownership of stories. It went viral in a way I hadn't expected. There was irony in that, I guess. Being seen again, but this time on my own terms. A few months later, he reached out. A message request. The same platform that once tore me apart delivered his voice back to me. "I saw your article. You've really come far. I miss talking to you. People still ask about us, you know?" I stared at the screen, reading his words like old newspaper headlines, outdated, irrelevant. He wanted to connect, to reminisce, maybe to rewrite our story one more time. But I wasn't a character anymore. I was the author. I didn't block him. I didn't respond either. I just let the message sit there, unopened but seen, the digital equivalent of silence. That night, I walked to the balcony, the city lights flickering like distant memories. Below, people moved, laughing, living, scrolling. Somewhere out there, another story was being told, twisted, reshaped, but not mine, not anymore. Funny how love always finds its way back once you've made it, not because it cares, but because it finally recognizes what it lost. And sometimes, the kindest revenge is indifference. I found it again by accident, his post, archived now, buried under years of noise and newer scandals. The comments were locked, the usernames deleted or forgotten. The story still there, unchanged. I read it slowly this time, like an old scar you trace just to remind yourself it doesn't hurt. Every line once felt like a knife. Now it was paper, thin, harmless. I could see the lies, the exaggerations, the little edits he'd made to make himself sound noble. I almost smiled, because I remembered the girl who once begged to be understood, and the woman who no longer needed to be. The light from my screen flickered across the room. I closed it gently, as if tucking something to rest. Outside, a train passed in the distance. A sound that once made me ache to leave, now just marked the hour. He wrote my story once. Now I write my own. They took everything and taught me what I never needed.